Sexual and gender-based violence is a crime that undermines our, peace and security of all people. We need to act so that we don't waste the contributions of half of our society. It's difficult to secure convictions because even when women or children go to the authorities regarding these crimes, they may not be taken seriously. It may take some time for them to go. Evidence may not be collected in a timely fashion, which undermines the legal system's ability to prosecute the crimes. Once, if a case does go so far as to go to trial, there are issues there with regards to how witnesses are treated, with regards to what is considered sufficient evidence. And then there's which can devolve into a sort of he said, she said. So there's a whole bunch there's sort of a series of barriers towards any possible eventual conviction. In the specific situation of sexual violence and conflict, there was a global summit in June of 2014 in London, held by the UK government. And one of the major outcome of that summit was a protocol for implementing programs and for gathering evidence and for the prosecution of crimes related to sexual and gender-based violence. And it's a bit of an attempt to establish a norm in a way, and an attempt to gather best practices together. Associated with that, there have been apps that have been developed for gathering evidence. There are different programs in place in different areas of conflict to help women deal with the aftermath of sexual and gender-based violence. So that's like on the grassroots level, that there are different ways that we can help women and children in those situations. There's different ways we can gather evidence to hopefully further convictions. On a higher level, what can be done is you can have governments and international organizations taking different approaches to how this is treated. And the biggest thing is just taking it seriously as something that needs to be addressed. We see that happening right now in the UN, where a series of very disturbing reports from CAR regarding sexual exploitation and abuse of mostly children by UN peacekeepers. And this has resulted in a report. The Secretary General is going to respond to the report in the next month or so. So whether this translates into any substantive change on the ground in peacekeeping operations is another issue, but it's that taking notice at that highest level. So that's something else that can be done. War is inherently a power struggle, and so is sexual and gender-based violence. And so in that respect, they are very much intrinsically linked. If you think that you have soldiers that are put in this position to, impose things or to take things, that it's not a far step from doing that, in a war situation than it is to doing it with regards to sexual activities, which, sexual violence is not a sexual act so much as it's a power act. So they are linked in that regard. And we know that women and children are affected by war in very different ways. And part of that has to do with these inherent power imbalances, as particularly in strongly patriarchal countries to begin with. The responsibility lies at different levels. On the one hand, it is, always the individual who's engaging in these acts who bears responsibility, but there are also the larger structures around it. And when that individual who is committing this act is a member of a military organization, then that military organization needs to take a certain amount of responsibility, often a lot of responsibility for what's going on, because it often is, or I would say it's always a result of the culture within, that person is working within. And, the sense of impunity that they often have with regards to their actions, especially in conflict areas. Yeah, so I think there's the multi levels of responsibility, from the individual up through the organizations, and all of those need to be addressed in their own ways. Often it's kind of either one or the other when we start talking about these things. Either it's prosecuting individual people without regard for the larger context, or it's only looking at the structural reasons without addressing the fact that there are actual individuals carrying out these activities. I would say that women need to be participants in, full participants in society, and their needs and wishes need to be addressed in the same way that men's are by default. And once we reach that point of gender equality, a lot of the specific issues that we encounter now are going to fall away.